Chris Paul's trade to the Golden State Warriors this past offseason was a fascinating one. And it raised a lot of questions from basketball people like myself. A guy like Chris Paul, who's been one of the highest ball screen usage players in the NBA in his career, going to a team that, since Steve Kerr has taken over as head coach of the Warriors, has been the least ball screen team in the league. And just this past year, the Warriors were third least ball screen team in the league, only behind the Nuggets and the Kings, who run their offense traditionally through their bigs and Jokic and Sabonis. And so when we look at the Warriors trade to get Chris Paul, it's an interesting one. Will it work? That's the big question. How will it work? There's been a lot of conversation around, will Paul be a part of the starting five, or will he come off the bench? And one thing we know about last year, Golden State had one of the best plus minuses of their starting five. When they were fully healthy and played their starting five, they were as good or better than anybody in the league. Their second unit was not. And so the Chris Paul addition will, I believe, allow their second unit to have more success and to do something Steph Curry talked about at the end of the season when he said they ran out of variety. That's an interesting terminology. Chris Paul adds a different variety to the Golden State offense. And we're going to unpack some film and watch what he brings to the table, his skill set, his strengths, and how that could unlock the keys to their success in running it back with a fifth title. So let's dive into some film and take a look at how Chris Paul is effective in the ball screen game. So as we roll the tape here with Chris Paul, we're going to look at a variety of things, and starting out with his mid-range shot-making ability. And it's pretty special how he creates space coming off the pick and roll and creating shots for himself. And then we'll roll into how he creates it for others as well. Right here, you see Ayton setting the screen, and they're playing the Nuggets here in the playoffs. And it's just a simple drop coverage that Chris Paul shows you how he creates that mid-range look. Again, right here, he comes off that pick and roll. Jokic is in his drop coverage, and then Chris pushes that ball out into his right where he's really good going right, hitting the mid-range shot. Again, right here, CP3 gets the rebound. He pushes a little bit in transition, gets stopped in half court. He's got a big matched up in Gordon. Ayton flips the screen there. And again, right here, screen comes from Ayton. And because they're in drop coverage or he's icing it and downing it, Gordon flips his hips to not let Chris get to the middle. And so then Ayton flips the screen as you see here, and Chris is going to snake it away. Little shot fake, gets him in the air, and easy bucket from the free throw line. Again, one of these patented, going to his right, kind of fading away. Defender chases it over the top of the screen, and that's where he's so dangerous. Again, right here, his on-ball defender chases it, and he's going to get to that right side with that pull-up jumper. So good from the mid-range. All right, right here, you see Phoenix pushing it in transition, and KD getting the ball, getting some paint touch, and then Chris gets into this ball screen right here. And again, you're going to see drop coverage. His defender gets caught on the screen, and that's where he's just so lethal, getting to that free throw line area in the mid-range pull-up. Right here, you see Chris. You're gonna notice him say something to Ayton. He's like, "Come on, let's go. Let's hustle down the court." And that right there, I believe, is an underrated. That's his leadership skill. And I think you're going to see it. And you even hear Draymond Green talk about it in a podcast where he talks about
what he brings is, number one, the variety in which we can play, I think, is huge.
He's excited to learn from Chris Paul on how he leads young guys, and specifically Jonathan Kuminga, and what he thinks he's going to do to unlock Kuminga's potential. And it's been widely publicized what Chris Paul did for DeAndre Ayton. And that was just a small snippet in a 2-second frame in a game. We don't see what happens on the practice floor and the film and on the bus and on the flights in the hotel of the leadership skills. And I think you're going to see that. That's an underrated element to this trade in the Chris Paul addition, who's a very vocal leader like a Draymond Green. Let's roll the tape here and take a look again. Get the drag screen into that little pull-up game. So good. Again, another playoff game here that we're looking at. Again, they're going to get into ball screen. They get a switch. Again, they pull Ayton. He wants to get that big out, Mason Plumlee here. And again, we've seen this earlier. Him just getting to that right hand, how effective and really simple but special it is. He gets to that right hand, contested shot, but when you're that high level of a mid-range shooter, the contest doesn't do a whole lot to him. Again, just showing you how effective he is in the mid-range. Pretty simple read there. Coming off, no help, no hedge. Again, another example of getting to that right hand. He's going to come off Kevin Durant's the first screener. DeAndre Ayton's the second screener. He rejects the second screen and then gets to that left hand. But I want you to watch here on this. When he pushes it, notice how KD's man is so caught up in staying home on him. He doesn't want to give up anything to KD. And so that non-help there allows Chris to get to his pull-up. Now, the thing I point out there, the reason is, I think when he plays for the Warriors and you've got Clay and Steph on the wings, defense has got to make a choice. Are they going to help off on the penetration, or are they going to stay home on the three-point shooters? And the defense is always wrong. Whatever they do, Golden State can make them pay. And again, Clay and Steph have not played with a passer like CP3, and I think that's why, or one of the reasons why, it's going to be so successful. All right, I want to show another example of how when Chris Paul is playing with Booker and Durant here in Phoenix, how they have gravity on them. And so their defenders are going to stay home oftentimes, which I think you'll see the same happen in Golden State. So as we roll the tape here, KD comes off the ball screen with that short roll, miss. And now Chris is going to operate off the ball screen here. And he'll come off. Great job of just creating that little separation move. Let's run it back. So as he comes off, I want you to notice, this is the case for a lot of NBA players when you have this high-level skilled shooters. But notice Booker up here in the high right wing and Durant here near the top of the key. And their two defenders are staying home. So now Chris Paul has all of this space and area to operate. And this where you see him create this space to get that just a little easy. That's like a layup for Chris Paul, the mid-range shot. Again, a transition, drag screen where they flip it. Again, notice how he pushes it out into space. It's what he does so well. So he's just going to push out, get some separation, and that's just hard to stop. Again, a mid-range shot for Chris is often like a layup for others. Here's another example, him coming off a kind of flat ball screen where Ayton is basically got his butt and back parallel or facing the rim, and it gives Chris the option to go left or right. And right here, the way the defender's playing him, he's going to go off his left, and then notice how he's going to just snake it and take it back away, which makes it a longer recovery for that on-ball defender. You got the drop coverage right here. Got great separation. So now Chris Paul just wants to get away from his on-ball defender. And by getting away, that extra little space, now he gets, this is a tough shot, no doubt. Tough shot. But he's so good at it that he can get this off and with high effectiveness. All right, we're going to show this next ball screen. It's with Kevin Durant, and it's a little bit of a ghost screen or a slip screen, and I think you'll see this be very effective with a guy like Andrew Wiggins with Golden State. If Chris Paul runs a lot of ball screen or some ball screens with Wiggins as a bigger player who they may try to switch or stay home, and this can be an effective screen right here. So Kevin Durant comes in. It's a little switch, and he just slips it out there. And Chris Paul is going to make the right decision. He's going to get his guys to play the ball, and he's going to let them make plays. He's going to let them make shots. Again, one more time right here. Kevin Durant's just going to slip. He whips that pass, just a quick decision. Looks like simple basketball, because it is. Here we are against the Kings. Again, getting a little drag screen. And this is why I want to show this clip. I think you'll see this type of action happen a lot with Draymond Green. So watch right here. The drag comes in transition. They ice it or box it. So they pull their big, the hedge defender, over here because that on-ball defender is forcing Chris Paul away or making him reject the screen. So he gets up high right here and forces it down into Sabonis. You'll see this with Draymond. So you just hit that, what we call that short roll. And this is where Draymond Green is so good, catching it in this area and then either going to make a play at the rim, but really he's best at finding the open guy and making the right pass. And this is hard to guard. If you're going to do that and ice those ball screens, and then you're going to let Draymond go make plays where you have 4-on-3, like in this situation, you got the ball handler, you got 3 defenders, you got 3 more offensive players. 4 versus 3 is a good advantage situation for the offense. I think you're going to see that a lot with Chris Paul and Draymond Green. Again, same game right here. Again, over there on the left wing ball screen. And that is another element. This makes Chris Paul so dangerous. This is why he's an effective ball screen user, why they use so many ball screens, because he's one of the best passers of all time. And you're going to see a lot of off-ball cutting, I believe, from guys like Gary Payton and Jonathan Kuminga and Wiggins and Klay Thompson's so good at moving without the ball. Really, the whole Golden State Warriors are so good moving without the ball because of the offense they've run, their motion offense where they're constantly moving and cutting and setting off-ball screens. Chris Paul's going to find the open players. And when you set a lot of ball screens, you get a lot of defenders ball watching like this situation. And he just finds the cutter. Easy layup for his teammate. Let's keep it rolling here. We'll show some more examples. Again, another weak side, that 45, oftentimes called a 45 cut here from that angle. Chris Paul is going to get to the paint. So hit this man right here at the 45. Notice all the ball watching going on. And it's an easy backdoor, drop it off, easy bucket. I think Golden State will really thrive with this type of action when Chris Paul is operating in ball screens. Again, you got a weak side cutter. Chris Paul is going to find these cutters. He's just too good of a playmaker, too good of a passer, has great vision at all times. He's a pass-first point guard as well. Again, high ball screen here in the middle third of the floor. I want you to notice right here on the left corner, Kevin Durant's filling out to that left corner. They set a little pin screen, and Chris Paul's going to find open shooters, and he's got a few of them there in Golden State. Great skip pass here, coming off the ball screen, coming off Ayton's ball screen. And this help side defender, he's helping on Ayton's roll. And the moment he overcommits, the defense is always wrong, and you're leaving one of the best scorers in the game, one of the best scorers of all time, Kevin Durant. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson are going to have a field day with this type of playmaker in their system. Again, very similar action. Simple ball screen, pick and roll action with Ayton. Again, I could see this happening a lot with Kevon Looney, setting high ball screens, rolling hard, making help defenders decide, do I help on the roll? Chris Paul does a great job of dragging out that hedge defender and deciding whether to shoot the pull-up, hit a cutter, or in this case, hit the weak side spot-up shooter. All right, again, just letting the tape roll here. Chris Paul pushing it ahead, and he's a willing passer. He will kick it ahead. Sometimes gets a bad rap for being ball dominant and methodical. No, but he makes the willing pass ahead. Let's roll it back one more time right here, just coming off that middle third ball screen. Help side defender chooses to help, so he gets downhill. Right here, you got the help defender. You see chest, you make the pass. You see shoulder, keep going, get a layup. Chest, shoulder read, really good job, Chris Paul, finding the open man Easy 3. Time will ultimately tell whether this Chris Paul addition to the Golden State lineup will in fact work and whether it'll lead to that 5th title or not. But one thing we do know is despite Chris Paul's age, he's one of the best passers and playmakers the NBA has ever seen. In the history of the league, he's one of the best to do it. He's a tremendous point guard. He's a tremendous leader. That usually plays well. He's a winner. And so the real test will come in the postseason and the playoffs and how those dynamics work. But a few reasons why I think it could be really successful. Chris Paul's a great passer. Steph and Clay have never played with a passer like Chris. Second thing is the spacing that Clay and Steph will give Chris in the pick and roll game is going to prove to be dynamic. He's one of the best mid-range shooters in the league, even at his later stages in his career. Draymond Green is a tremendous screen and roll guy who can catch the short roll and then become a playmaker himself. And you put those two high-level passers in pick and roll game, I'm excited to see what that can look like. And then lastly, Chris Paul has played with another great all-time guard. When he played with the Rockets for 2 years in 2017, 2018, he played with James Harden. He had to play off the ball. He learned how to be a spot-up shooter. And Chris Paul's spot-up game is underestimated. He's actually a top 10 spot-up player when it comes to analytics in the NBA. So for those reasons, I believe Chris Paul will have a lot of success with the Golden State Warriors.